political analyst, Marwan Bishara. Marwan, I think, we're hearing very much an Israeli perspective of not just someone whose relative is being held in Gaza, but also, very much the Israeli perspective of this war. I want to know if you think that the Israeli government is in any way prioritizing the captives.
Just to be clear, it's a terrible thing. It's a terrible thing that an 84-year-old is held captive in Gaza. Just as we feel for the families who lost countless children and mothers and sisters, 20,000 plus children in Gaza, we also feel that for the old people and for the young people who are held captives. There's absolutely no doubt about that. One cannot prioritize human suffering. And I feel for Daniel just like I feel for any Adil or Muhammad in Gaza. But there is a political issue involved here. One has to be very clear about the humanitarian, but also one has to be very clear about the political. In today's Haaretz newspaper editorial, today, the paper, a mainstream paper, accused Benny Gantz, who's supposed to be the moderate in the war cabinet, of lying to the Israeli people when he says that we are attacking Rafah to save the captives. Accused him of lying because he is lying. Netanyahu is lying. Eisenkot is lying. They are lying when they say we do not accept the captive prisoners deal in order to save the captives.
And you're saying that because I think it's only something like 3 Israeli captives, the number of Israeli captives that have been rescued in the Israeli operations compared to the number that were released through a ceasefire agreement. It pales in comparison. It's insignificant, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. No, and it's actually much worse than that. Of course, one of them was not held with Hamas, the first one, and they killed 2 of them holding white flags, and so on and so forth. So, no, I mean, this doesn't even compare. Israel's policy towards its own captives has been criminal. But it was clear from day one, Netanyahu and his war cabinet, they said, we have, number 1 is defeating Hamas, number 2 is the captives. And they have gone along that way for the past 7 months. And in the process, they've killed countless Palestinians. So once again, while we identify with the suffering of any Israeli, we have to bear in mind that more than 100,000 casualties have already paid the price with the total destruction of Gaza. Gaza today is not held hostage by Hamas. Gaza today is held hostage by Israel because Hamas accepted a deal that was provided to it by the United States, by Bill Burns, the director of the CIA. And let me say something which I find quite disturbing, and I think something needs to be looked at, and I haven't seen much on it. Bill Burns is a 40-year-old diplomat who worked for both Democratic and Republican administrations. I've just finished his book, Back Channel. He's a very, very seasoned diplomat that knows very well the Arab world. I think when he reached that deal, he reached the final deal that basically should have been accepted by Israel after it was accepted by Hamas, because he did not offer something from the top of his mind. The fact that we are now going back again to the cycle of diplomacy as if nothing happened 2 days ago, it tells me that there's a problem in Washington, not just in Tel Aviv.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to ask you. What game is Netanyahu playing by saying that the deal that Hamas agreed to is not one that Israel agreed to, when it was put to Hamas by Qatar and Egypt and the US, which surely wouldn't put a deal to Hamas that that Israel wouldn't agree to?
Netanyahu is known in international circles and Israeli circles as the ultimate liar. He's a pathological liar. And he does not want a ceasefire. He wants a total war in Gaza, on Palestine, and he wants a total occupation of Gaza. That's what he wants. But that's not my problem. We've known that for the past 7 months. I am talking about something different here. I am saying that's expected from Netanyahu. What is not expected is why is Bill Burns being stabbed in the back by his own administration? That's what I'm talking about. Why didn't Blinken support Bill Burns the past 48 hours when Bill Burns came back with a deal that should have been accepted, because Bill Burns accepted it face value as this is the deal. This was the American deal. As I said, he is far more experienced than Blinken, the Secretary of State. He's far more seasoned diplomat. He knows the region, and he knows Israelis and Palestinians all too well. When he reached that deal, it was on the basis that the Egyptians, the Israelis, the Qataris, and Hamas are on board. Now, the fact that then this was rejected with some hyperbolic language by Netanyahu, without him being supported by his own administration,
so the question,
is a problem.
So the question then isn't, why did Netanyahu do that? It's, why isn't the US administration supporting their head of intelligence?
Absolutely. And here, there's a good number of, educated guess. My first educated guess, and that's why today the State Department it postponed the deadline to answer that simple question: is Israel violating American law and international humanitarian law? Everyone in the world knows Israel is violating international humanitarian law. But anyway, apparently it's a very complicated report that the State Department is reading. Be that as it may, Blinken has gone out of his way for the past 7 months to justify Israel's war crimes and to defend Israel no matter what the case is. And he has the president's ear. Now, the president is already a self-declared Zionist. But the president has his presidency at stake at this point in time. As Senator Sanders said, this is his Vietnam. He will be like Johnson, a one-time president, if he continues on the same path. Director Burns brought them a deal that is excellent for everyone and could wind down the war and bring the hostages, the captives back, and release prisoners and end the unfolding genocide in Gaza. Israel rejected it, and the United States did not stand behind its director of intelligence, the CIA, which is, I think, problematic even in terms of not just what happened the past 3 days, but also what's going to happen in the next 3 days and 3 weeks. Because if every time William Burns, is going to reach a deal that's going to be torpedoed by the Israelis and the Biden administration is not going to stand for it, then what are we doing in Cairo and Doha and Tel Aviv?
Yeah. What are we doing? I'm told we'll run out of time for this one.
Sure.
But stop giving me answers that beg more questions. For now, that is our senior political analyst, Marwan Bishara.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.